Does anybody want to feel some of these bands in our stomach here? Okay. So that's the big toe belly band there. You can feel there's a fair bit of tension there. Yep. And then the upper little toe is here, and it's very tight in that. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was feeling when I came to foot cups. I think that's very tight too.
If you go deep enough right into that, you can feel that right from the back too. So it's interesting. Yeah.
Like that.
It's a good sport, isn't it?
Hey.
Yeah, we're all prodding that in.
Yeah, well, he loves it, you know? You're not going to want to become a teacher of this kind of thing if you don't like it, you know? Yeah. Oh, you look forward to a good anger release after a while. Oh, yeah. It feels so much better when you get rid of your anger. Yeah.
You know it's going to be the torture track.
That's just it. No big deal. Bit of pain never hurt anybody. Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Tension kills people. Pain comes. I mean, this kind of pain is a good pain. Comes and goes. You know, if the person's working you at the right level, they're shifting stuff. Bit of pain. Oh well, you know, it's not like being in a war and having your head blown off or something. You know.
And this is a pretty, you're going pretty intense here.
Yeah, because I know Art and I know he wants it. You know what I mean? So he's a more experienced. No, and he's young. He does yoga, eats a really healthy diet. Not worried, he doesn't smoke. Not worried about toxins. And I know Art, and I've spoken to him, and I know that he's got a lot of anger, and that he has trouble expressing, and he wants to get rid of that, and he wants to be able to own his yang side. Yeah. And so, and it's on his right side, which relates to the male side and everything as well, which is interesting. So I kind of know what we're doing. He knows what we're doing. Is it? Yeah. So, you know, it's it is fun. I gotta say, you know what I mean? It's fun in helping people heal and shift and that sort of thing. But, you know, it's not like Art's going to go away feeling hurt. He probably, you don't sore anywhere now, are you? Really? A little bit?
a little tingly, right?
Yeah, but you know, that'll go.
It's a small sacrifice, really.
It is a small sacrifice, and within a day or so, two days, he's not going to be sore anymore. For him to be able to let go of all the anger and the frustration and the disempowerment that comes along with repressed anger.
What's an hour of pain?
As I say, women give birth for 20 hours, and it's quite painful. You know, men just need to toughen the fuck up.
How long will it take for him to build it back up in his system?
Depends what he does. Depends what he does. Could be years. I've done it where I've massaged a person's leg in a class, and both legs were equally tight. 5 years later, there's still one's definitely looser than the other.
All right.
Yeah, so if you're getting rid of stuff that, if it's taken him a lifetime, say, to get this tight, we get rid of it, well, yes, he's going to build up tension again, because life does that. But one's going to have a lifetime, you know. That's why we have maintenance massage as well. You want to excavate. We're excavating the years of tension, probably from the time the person was born, or in the womb. We don't know how long they've had this tension. Kids are born with tension. All right. That's why I call it excavation, and that takes average of 10 to 40 hours to get rid of. In some people's cases, could take 60 or 100. Depends on how well they breathe. See, with Art, I'm sort of able. I can do quite a lot in a short period of time because he's not worried about screaming. He's not worried about crying. And I can just sort of get in there and work him, and he's not resisting me. That's the key thing. Even if he says, oh, it's an 11, he's not tightening up against me. So he's just got a fucking stupid definition of what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? I don't listen to stupid people. But if he's tightening up against me, then I know that's too much. What he's saying is, oh, this is going to be quite confronting, and I'm going to scream and throw my water bottle. Because, you know, he's not, you know, it's a bit... You're going to push me to where I'm not a nice Canadian anymore, you know?
This is like a scream and throw my bottle, which is still funny. I picture yourself, you know, in a playpen.
But he didn't tighten up against me. Yeah. If he's pulling his foot away, that's different. All right, so I could even come in and do his big toe, and I could go, you know, like, because he's got tension from everywhere, and I could start again from in here.
How much tension, how much pressure do you use on a person who is at the first time?
On you, I'd go very light.
Yep.
Yeah. Because it doesn't take much to shift on you, and you'll be like completely in a blithering mess
Yep.
very quickly.
Nothing to look forward to.
Yeah. And there's no way I could go hard on you right away.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of treatments to get you loose, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, but it'll be good. Be a lot of fun to see who's really underneath all that shit, you know?
You probably don't want to.
Yeah. Huh?
Probably don't want to know.
Yes, we do. You're a beautiful person. Underneath all the shit. Yeah. Or if you aren't, become one. What's that? Low battery?
Oh no, do you want it moved a little bit that way?
Yeah, thanks.
Does that just swivel there? Or you got to move it?
No, it should swivel on the top. Yeah, thanks. Or just move the whole tripod, whatever's easiest. Again, just letting him breathe so you can see we're stirring things up. This is how powerful it is, the tips of the fingers and the tips of the toes, because these are what I call the anchor points for almost all this tension coming up, especially through his abdomen, which is where we hang on to a lot of emotions. So toes are even more powerful in that way than even fingers, because fingers will affect the shoulders. They definitely do affect emotion as well, because a lot of grief can be stored in the lungs. They can affect the heart as well, but this is all coming straight up here. So we want to allow him a little chance to breathe as well in between. Don't just work people intensely. If you're doing this without a chopstick, which I'll get you guys to do today, you can work in here. If they have a slight bit of oil on their skin, you can move over the skin. Don't do this with a chopstick unless you've got some oil. All right? Or you can just find that band with drier skin and work over it like this. Okay? See how I'm actually on the skin? And I'm moving the skin over the tension. You see that? Rather than moving across the skin. You just got to watch, if somebody's got drier skin or you got drier skin, you'll create like a burning feeling. All right? Okay. So we'll just wait until you guys have got a really good feel for things before I get you into chopsticks, because chopsticks are intense and you could hurt somebody with a chopstick. Okay?
In your view, because I guess it'd be hard ever to come up with why the toes and the feet, what in your view, why do you think they are the ankle, like why so much control over these emotions is in the hands and the feet?
I wouldn't necessarily say all the emotion is stored in the hands or feet. It's the roots of a whole, like a meridian or a band, what I would call a band of trapped energy, and it's anchored in here, right? But it might be stored up here. But the anchor point lets this all just let go. It has nothing to hold on to anymore. So then it just starts to evaporate and it comes out as this feeling inside you, like, oh, I gotta cry, or I gotta scream, or I've got to burp, or I've got to fart, or I've got to somehow or other eliminate something.
Okay.
Right? Whereas right now it's stuck. You know?
And do you think they're just the anchor points just because that they just are. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have a view on why the hands and the feet are the anchor point.
I got a little bit of a view on it. Obviously with acupuncture, if you look at any acupuncture meridian, the acupuncture meridians will start here. So that will be, like the start of an acupuncture meridian. And all of the toes and the fingers will be starts or finishes of acupuncture meridians. Obviously it's the end point. It's like the end of the line, like on a train line. You can't go any further because it's the end of the body. It's our connection with the earth as well, which is an interesting thing. Like how I was talking about the roots of a tree, like the roots they're big and then they become tinier and tinier until the very tips are very tiny, the millimeters, but that's where a lot of the nutrients are drawing in. So this is definitely our connection with the earth. That's another important thing, I think. I think in reflexology, it's also very important. In reflexology theory, the toes relate to the head. That plays some role. I mean, obviously reflexology is a developing body of knowledge. It's quite an interesting body of knowledge. But other than that, it's just more question of, well, this works, so let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Took me a long time to figure out how to get the body free of tension. It's one thing to identify tension, but for years, I suppose I was working with people and it wasn't releasing and things like that until I came in and started doing this stuff in the toes. And I'm like, oh, this is holding this is holding that. And it took a long while to figure out that in most cases, this point here is the end point. Because even sometimes I was working in here and thinking maybe this was the end point, but it's actually right here. This is an incredibly important point. And when you think about it, even in Chinese, in reflexology, this has got to relate probably to the fontanelle of the skull, so the opposite side. And it's also got to relate in Ayurveda to the crown chakra. Right? So that is something that I've just realized is incredibly important. And it's the end of that band, the end of that band, the end of that band, and obviously this band is going to come through here, but it probably goes underneath and into there anyway. So I often now have resorted to just holding that point, letting them breathe into it and feel that energy flow. So almost like an acupuncture needle in there. And with acupuncture, see, a good acupuncturist knows exactly with a needle, what they do is they stimulate it ever so slightly. And that makes the chi move. Doctors, when they were learning it, they didn't know anything about it, they just stick a needle in. But this isn't like giving a needle, because an acupuncture needle is all designed around chi flow, and a doctor who doesn't accept chi flow really has no business doing acupuncture. So this is designed all around just finding that. And then I let him breathe. And from there, then I can work in. And I can either work just by holding, like in acupuncture, and then gently stimulating that flow of chi, or I could do more of a cross fiber on the band like that. So you can see he clearly feels these bands going all the way to his toes. Even if we can't feel them originally, that's what took me so long to figure out is this area here. Because you can't feel it initially, and you guys will have a bit of trouble with this. It takes a while to get refined and good at this. You'll understand when you have it done and somebody really works from right in here and loosens up the rest of it. But as I said to you from this morning, it's so important to work with the breath. We can't be stirring things up and they're not coming out. They need to come out. You can see something's here. We'll let him breathe a bit. And occasionally I'll come back in, like I say, and do this. I'll show you guys how to do this on Wednesday or Thursday. Big breath. Assisted belly breathing, where we just get him to breathe deeply. And in many cases, if I wasn't in Australia, I'd be clicking his neck as well to allow the energy to flow out better. Right? As I say, we've got stupid politicians in this country. Yeah, I don't know. Canada's got full of stupid politicians, so it could be illegal there. At least in England, it's illegal.
England, is that where you do it?
Yeah. Yeah, they don't bother about regulating too much in England. Massage isn't regulated, so they probably don't know much about it. They're too busy with other stuff. cool. Even the royal family are into natural medicine, though. Interestingly, royal family's doctors are homeopath.
Still around now, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, she's
One
almost
before
100.
was around.
Yeah, yeah. There on that picture, she was only 50 or something. Yeah, 90, 52, yeah. But Prince of Wales is actually setting up a holistic health centre in Scotland. I wrote to him about doing Raynor Massage, but I don't think they understand it yet. But I was at Buckingham Palace one time, and I was with some of my students, and we were talking to the head of the guards there, and he was like, "Oh, why you guys?" I think they had a streaker or something recently, and he was, a bit of a bummer because somebody was going nude through Buckingham Palace. And all my students were like, "Oh, we've just been doing this great course and having a lot of, And he was like, "Oh, what's it all about then?" And I was massaging him because he asked me, you show him, they're like, "Oh, he's our teacher. Can you give me a little sample?" So I'm massaging him. He actually started to cry. It was funny though, because he could be so gentle, like he was crying. Then some guy came up and hassled him, really insensitive, and he fucking got really intense to this guy. "I'm talking to this gentleman, you go back there." It was really interesting, but it would have been kind of cool, like if I was in England, I think that, you'd probably get more acceptance in those kind of places. They're not so fascist and controlling and telling the medical industries there's a bit more freedom. That's what I think. Quite like it over there. So we're just coming in. Holding that toe, just moving it around. Free up any emotion that's associated with it, shaking it gently. These are powerful points. I find this joint to be one of the most, it's quite difficult for a lot of people to release this joint. People get very tight in there. And it can have a lot of, so I'm just bending it basically and then holding pressure points above and below it and then moving it.
That's a lever point too with reflexology, isn't it?
Yeah. Liver relates also to
Anger.
anger, So I could work, as I say, by working all, like the side of his toes on both sides, the front, the back, I'm going to get the roots of all the bands in the legs. All right. So sometimes I do that. Sometimes I might focus on one band. Like it could take me quite a few hours to completely loosen a leg. Could be 3, could be 6 hours, could be a few treatments. But I could do a general one or I could do specific. But I was doing that specific one more on the outer little toe, but I felt like I hit a block for him, where he was just like, I can't deal with this anymore for a little while. That's why I'm then coming to another toe, just to have that whole thing. It changes as good as a holiday. Let him breathe into another area. It's more like, oh, you're tight here as well, aren't you? Plenty of tension, And he knew it. He knew there's no shortage of tension, but I don't think he realized until the other day just how tight he was all over. And that's sometimes what happens in life is sometimes we just get to that point, or even like with you, Vern, you had no idea how tight you were until somebody gets you on the table and feels it, right?
Well, for me, it's just normal.
It's just normal, yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, what I am, it's just normal.
You are what you are. That's what you're used to, yeah. So until you've been to a state where you've got no tightness, you got nothing to compare it to.
No.
This is a very important technique when it comes to working toes as well, is to hold below the joint of the toe and to move it side to side. I will get you guys to practice this one, okay? And what I'll get you guys to practice is just using things like your thumbs down the sides, the origins of these bands that are going to make up the bigger bands. So these sort of smaller bands that are in each of the toes. I want you guys to practice using your fingers to start crossing over the bands and see what you can do to release them, okay? So obviously the first thing is to feel a band, the next thing is to release it. See how he's tight through there? And remember, it takes time. You can see why it takes a long time, actually, to loosen people up. It's not a quick thing, it's not some... This is a very thorough way of working a person. So definitely start to practice this sort of technique where you're using your thumb or your finger and crossing over that band. And start to just feel how tight is it, and is what I'm doing making any impact on loosening it? Okay, that's the question you need to ask yourself later when you're practicing. Is what I'm doing loosening it? If it's not, if you're coming up here and you're going, that feels tight, but I'm just working over it and it's not letting go, you need to come down the band until you find what I call an anchor point. All right? And if you're having trouble, you might come into here and you go, well, that's still tight and I'm rolling over that and it's not letting it go. It might be in this area, like I say, which it often is, which is harder to feel with your finger. And you're like, oh, I can't feel it. You just got to sense it. And if you're having trouble, what you do is you still work that area as best you can. Then you come back to the first point along the band that you can actually feel, and you go, did that help or not? Is that now starting to go? When I rub over it, does it feel like it's like butter melting? If not, it's still held here. Don't just keep proceeding up the band. This is the way you will avoid causing bad pain. Good pain is pain that finds tension and gets rid of it, and the person can breathe it out. Bad pain is when we're working on a band and it's not letting go. That's more likely too where people are going to be sore the next day afterwards. If you've come higher up the band, started working deeply in here, it didn't let go, and you're going to bruise them. All right, that's bad pain. All right, good pain goes when the muscle releases. So usually where people are sore the next day, certainly, people can be a bit sore where you've worked, but usually it's where you've worked but didn't release that people are sore. So have a think about that. That's a very important thing that I'm talking about there. Very important. So just coming back to that, there's a lot of it, what I call energy, stored in here. See, if with Art, I would probably book him in for like a 3-hour treatment just on this leg. Yeah? Because that's how long it'll take to do a good thorough job. I'm not going to do his whole body in 3 hours. No way. Okay. All right, so I've done a little bit of work on that big toe. Starting to let go a little bit. Still very tight in here, so I can just move it a little bit. Can you feel that at all, Art? Yeah. We won't worry about the rope line. We'll just presume we can't. I'm quite intuitive with these sorts of things. Okay, so that one's obviously a little bit sore. There we go. Starting to move shit now. The crying, and it's good. The anger, then the crying. So we're hitting that layer. Yeah. We just let him breathe into it, cry into it, scream into it, until it all goes. There we go. And it's difficult, sometimes it's difficult for people accessing emotions, We shove them in a bit, Thank you. I'll let that toe have a rest because that's obviously got a lot of charge in it. I'll come to the next one. And that one's fairly charged as well. And again, I can always come back up and get that breath moving because what's happening is I'm moving things up here. Some of it's coming out through the breath, the screaming, the crying, but other stuff might get stuck in here. So